The success of all these also showcases the fact that in India, the DPI, UPI is about social revolution. It's about ensuring that, the leakages that were there in the system of when the government wanted to transfer money to the people, those leakages are addressed.
His Royal Highness
Absolutely.
Sheikh Mohamed
Maria,
bin Zayed Al Nahyan,
and
President of the United Arab Emirates.
Yes, go ahead.
So, yes, Maria, I think, the use of technology for inclusion, especially for developing countries in a post-pandemic world, is something that the Prime Minister has been emphasizing on. So, the DPI and UPI systems of India are also being showcased as something beyond financial inclusion. They will be very good for overall, development and governance of the country is what India is showing to the world. It says that, not just developing countries, even the West actually has a lot of learnings from this, because yesterday, Amitabh Kant was talking about how digitization in the West has been more propelled by big tech, whereas in India it's been far more democratic, it's been interoperable, it's open source led, which means there is less privatization in this. So that is something that he emphasized. And DPI and UPI are also being projected as not just tools for financial inclusion, but also to reduce the burden on low income economies, to increase their savings, and also ensure that banks sort of also do well, and also the expenditure on KYC comes down. And more importantly, like the World Bank report talked about, the welfare of women is very important here, because not just do they get to equip themselves with the right kind of technology and skilling, it's also important because digitization helps them sort of bridge that gap. If you see, the Jan Dhan accounts in India have tripled in the last 5 years, which is a milestone in its own context. So all of these things are being projected, to the foreign delegates, and there is a show and tell experience, because they can also sort of download this, and there'll be 2,000 rupees credited to their accounts. And there is also a cross-border payment system, something that India has started with Singapore and is now going to initiate with Bangladesh. So even if you don't have a payment, if you don't have a bank account, you can still use the UPI system. So these are certain things that India is showcasing with a lot of fervor, apart from the use of cyber currency and also the kind of care that one needs to take while talking about crypto. This is something that India has been very clear about, that there needs to be an international regulation, and not one country can do it, because it's a widespread phenomenon that that cuts across borders. So there is advocacy, there is also activity. So it's a combination of both experiential learning, but also a very bold way of projecting its achievements.
Yes, and one which also has a legal and regulatory framework. Let's dip in again to the audio that is coming in from Bharat Mandapam, and then we'll continue with this conversation.